My greatest day in baseball. My greatest day in baseball was the year they elected me to the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. I didn't even think about it. I knew I got mentioned, and it was quite a surprise, to bounce up there right at the end. I mean, that was we couldn't win any pennants. I won a couple of batting titles, and in the year I hit 388, I didn't even think about it till right at the end of the season. I said, hey, Radcliffe was hitting up there, and I'm just batting back, and I look up one day, and he's going back underneath me, and I'm up to 350. I said, boy, you better bear down. You might not get up here again.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Fenway Park.
At Mark Fidrich now, each time he gets the ball back, you'll see him mumble a couple of words to the ball.
The first man ever to pitch 5 career no-hitters. Touch a ball, Joe.
I don't believe what I just saw.
And it's another chance for Mitchell, and he makes a barehanded catch. Ricky goes, a pitch ticket, he's going to have it. Leaps high in the air, and he's got it. An incredible catch by the kid.
And let it be said that number 8, Cal Ripken Jr., has reached the unreachable star.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we invite you to rise.
Hey fans, welcome to the Daily Rewind. My name's Tom Hannon, and I'm your host. The Daily Rewind is brought to you by thisdayinbaseball.com. Thisdayinbaseball.com is a treasure chest full of baseball events. We bring you everything from the thrill of victory to the agony of defeat, and every milestone and oddball event in between. And I'm always surprised at the events that I find every day. For instance, as we get into today's episode about April 2nd, today is the day when everyone thought it was an April Fool's joke that Jackie Mitchell would actually strike out Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig in an exhibition game. But, these are the things that you find on thisdayinbaseball.com, and you're going to find these really fun events, you find serious events, and you just find all the things that have shaped baseball history throughout the years. Before I jump in, yesterday marked the 1-year anniversary of this podcast. I did my first episode on Rube Waddell passing from tuberculosis. It was amazing for me to do that story and learn so much about him and the fact that people still are putting fire cards on his tombstone. And I always knew he was an eccentric character, but as I do these podcasts, I learned so much about him, and I get to spend time learning about these players, and it's very interesting. And it's been a really fun year. And we have had some lapses because life gets busy. We're building a house. And, but one of the things I'm excited about is we've definitely been able to put the episodes out on a much more consistent basis over the last 2 months, and that's going to continue. And I hope everyone's enjoying them. And I want to thank everyone who's listened to the show, who's downloaded an episode and joined me on this journey. I really appreciate you guys. And actually, last month was the highest downloads that we've received in a month, which everything that's going on in life with the, COVID-19, in podcast numbers across the board are down. I was surprised to see that, the numbers that we have are where they are. And I appreciate that. And I think it's, because a lot of people are looking for release in baseball right now. So, I want to thank you for spending time with me this past year, and we're going to, keep moving forward, and I'm excited about this next year and keep bringing you, these exciting players from the past. To get into today's episode, which is on April 2nd, and if you go to April 2nd on thisdayinbaseball.com, you're going to see that we have over 100 events on April 2nd, and then it doesn't stop there. There's 48 birthdays. There's almost 30 passings, including Gil Hodges. There's 60 debuts for Major League players and 2 players who played their final game on April 2nd. So, and some of the debuts are pretty cool. I mean, you got Ichiro Suzuki, Albert Pujols debuted on this date. So there's some really cool stuff there. So if you check it out, you can go to thisdayinbaseball.com, April 2nd. Now, today's subject, Luke Appling, who was born April 2nd, 1907. His nickname was Old Aches and Pains, and Appling is considered one of the best hitting shortstops ever to play in the American League. He was an exceptional contact hitter, and he struck out only 528 times in over 10,000 plate appearances for the White Sox. and he won 2 batting titles, and he posted a lifetime career mark of .310. And his .388 batting average in 1936 established a 20th century record for Major League shortstops. One that was only approached by the .385 mark by Pittsburgh's Archie Vaughan 1 year earlier, in the .381 figure compiled by Honus Wagner in 1900. Blessed with a keen batting eye, Appling accumulated more than 100 walks 3 times during his career, enabling him to compile a lifetime on-base percentage of just slightly under 400. Nevertheless, Appling is often excluded from conversations including the greatest shortstops of all time, since he committed a total of 643 errors in his 20 big league seasons, leaving him with the worst fielding percentage of any player with at least 1,900 games played since 1910. Now, granted, fielding was a lot different back then than it is now, with the grooming of fields and gloves and etc. But that is a lot of errors, 643 errors. So Appling was born in High Point, North Carolina on April 2nd, 1907, as I mentioned earlier. And he moved to Atlanta, Georgia with his family as a child. After graduating from Fulton High School, where he played baseball and football, Appling attended college in Georgia for 2 years. Appling started at the university's baseball team while also playing fullback on the football team before leaving school during his sophomore year to pursue a career in professional baseball. He had signed a contract with the Southern League Atlanta Crackers in 1929 and spent a year with the team, experienced success at the plate, but also committing, shockingly, 42 errors in only 140 games. Despite his early difficulties in the field, Appling remained determined to make a successful career out of playing shortstop. He later recalled, "My daddy was left-handed, and I was left-handed when I was little. In fact, I was left-handed all the way going through high school. Then I switched over to right-handed because I wanted to play shortstop." Now, maybe that gives you some of the reason why he had some issues. I'm not 100% sure. But I'm going to bring you, without just dictating all of his career, I'm going to bring you Luke Appling to talk to you about his career. It's a long interview. It's an hour, so you might want to buckle down and listen to it. On the show notes, I've got some highlighted points if you want to get to any of them. But he talks about a wide range of things, anything from Tony Lazzari to Babe Ruth to what his favorite day was to his managing career, his coaching career. It's a very long but interesting interview, and you're certainly going to hear his North Carolina and Georgia roots come out during this interview, as you'll see. Now, I got this interview, and it was actually recorded on April 10th, 1987 from Baseball's Hall of Fame digital collection. Producer of it, and it's a great interview, and I highly recommend you going over to the Baseball Hall of Fame as well and checking out their digital collection, because it's quite extensive. But you can see that you can even sponsor the pages over there, which I would highly recommend, just because I think in a time like this they need that for sure. I'm going to get you to Appling in a second, and as you know, I'm giving you a little bit of his today in Stratomatic. Quick highlight of what's going on in Stratomatic baseball. So on April 2nd, here are the highlights. There are 10 games on the schedule today, including the unveiling of the World Series champion banner at the Nationals Park, and 7 other teams had home openers as well. So let's check in on the action. Nelson Cruz extends his hitting streak to 8 games as the Twins win their 3rd straight after dropping the first 5 games of the season. The Yankees knock out Blue Jays starter Tanner Roark in the first inning on their way to an 8-4 win in their home opener. Andrew Velasquez hits a 2-run triple in the top of the 10th, helping the Orioles get by the Cardinals 6-5. The Nationals raised their championship banner and then beat their divisional rival, New York Mets. Steven Strasburg strikes out 10 and holds the Mets to 1 run as he wins the 2nd game of the season. Lorenzo Cain goes 2 for 5 with the home run and 2 RBIs to help the Brewers spoil the Phillies' home opener. George Soler hit his league-leading 6th home run as Kansas City wins their 3rd straight game. And the Pirates get back above 500, believe it or not, as Joe Musgrove and company shut out the Reds 3-0. Sonny Gray strikes out 10 in the loss. I'll tell you, for the Pirates fans, and I get some good ones that I'm friends with on Facebook, like Dave Finoli. Dave's a great author. He writes a lot of Pittsburgh Pirates stuff worth checking out. I'm sure he'd be excited at this point if this was actually happening, that the Pirates were above 500, even though it's early in the season. So another action, Cleveland beat Detroit 5-3. The Red Sox won their home opener 7-4. And the Angels topped Texas 12-5. Now here's Luke Appling.
In 15 minutes, it's on bloodstream all over your body.
Is that right?
Boy, it does wonders with those things, though. It does wonders for this, but I can't use it all the time. And I use it quite a bit. I've been using it since back in the 30s.
Huh.
They didn't know what it was then. They just said it was horse liquor.
How many seasons did you play?
Well, I started I went up in the fall of 1930, about 6 weeks before the season was over. Broke a finger. See that? Stuck it in the pop fly. We worked out every morning, 10 o'clock. I said, my God, let me go back to the minor league. 10 o'clock every morning in the fall, the sun's sitting right up there over there at Comiskey Park. And I fielded one morning, 154 ground balls. I kept track and caught 32 pop-ups. Besides batting practice, and then you go out and practice, play at 2:30 in the afternoon. I said, no wonder this team can't work. They were worn out. But that was our policy.
You never had that finger set, or did you?
Oh, yeah, but see, old Arthur gets in there every once in a while. See, now I can bend it a little. This was getting worse. But see, I bend it every once in a while, but this one is getting worse. Well, after 80 years, what do you expect?
So you really 20 years, I guess.
I was 21 seasons. I played through 1950. I went up in the fall of 30, and then I quit after 50. I could have stayed with them at, the manager. Texas died last year. Yeah. Catcher, he went to Detroit and managed Atlanta, managed Baltimore. Richard, Paul. He wanted me to stay with him, but I just figured that you're taking some other guy's place, that might do better, and they wanted me to manage in Memphis, and so I went down there instead.
Did you ever go to barnstorming, or?
1 year.
When was that?
The fall of 50.
Oh.
Huh?
Who'd you go with?
I went with Lieutenant Mickey Harris.
Oh, yeah.
See, he and Tebbetts used to barnstorm up in New England. And Tebbetts told him that he wasn't going. It was all his. See, but Tebbetts had the dates. And unbeknownst to Mickey and everybody else, Mickey asked me to go, and I wasn't coming back. Of course, the Yankees, Casey wanted me to come over with them. And I was trying to get my release from that Chicago to go with to New York. I'd like to try it 1 year with a winner. And so Rizzuto was keeping in touch with me when he was on bar. He was on the other team. See, he was talking to him, and he was talking to me. They told me you couldn't interfere. You couldn't. They'd get you. In fact, he asked me. I tried to get my release last year. I was with the Sox at about 6 weeks before the season over. Casey says they'd give me a nice raise, guaranteed to carry me all next year, and the year after that, if the first year, he'd give me a AAA job to manage baseball, and they wouldn't give my release. Like I told him, I said, heck, I don't count in your plans. You're going to start young players, and that's the reason I went to managing. I just stayed with Paul. I allowed to.
You never got to see much of the National League at all.
Well, I'd see him play when I was hurt every once in a while. I'd go to Cubs Park and watch him play in the World Series and play against them in the spring. See, we trained in Pasadena, and you had the Cubs out there, the Giants were out there one time, Pittsburgh. And then somebody else was out there close. But we'd see the boys.
Well, now, if you, just of the guys you saw play ball now, if you had to pick a team, like who was the best catcher you saw play?
Well, I've seen a lot of good catchers, like Cochrane, Dickey, and a lot of good catches. It'd be hard to separate like that, but just out of a clear sky, there'd be two.
Well, you know, because before we get going this, I interviewed Leo Durocher once, which I wish I hadn't done because it upset him so bad. I was interviewing Carl Hubble and Lefty Gomez and George Kelly, and it just so happened that it was convenient to interview Durocher. And so Bill Guilfoyle said, why don't you interview him? Well, Leo, kept saying, does this mean I'm going to get in the Hall of Fame? And I said, no. Does this mean I'm not going to get in the Hall of Fame? No. But anyway, he did something very interesting. He picked an all-star team.
Yeah.
All-time all-star team. He said, now I'm going to turn around, I'm going to pick an all-time all-star team that can beat that one. And he said, I could probably do that 5 times.
That's right.
And it's true, but so you would have Cochrane or Dickey as your catcher, right?
Yeah.
Now, could you distinguish between those two? I mean, Cochrane, the knock always hurt against Cochrane was he was too small.
Oh, he wasn't small. He was pretty good. He weighed 100 and at least 90 or something.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he wasn't small. He was bigger than I am.
Was he? Oh.
Dickey, like I say, if you go back through, just looking through and go over and over in different players, there's a lot of good catches. Birdie Tebbetts was a good catcher. It's just off my shoulder,
sure.
Those two.
How about a first baseman?
First baseman? Now, they had a lot of good first basemen. That'd be something else. You had, of course, you had Jimmie Foxx. You had Greenberg.
How was Jimmie Foxx as a fielder at first?
All right. And then you got a million for Moose Skowron. And the guy with the Dodgers, of course, I didn't see his just nationally, but I just see the American League playing in them, to judge them. But they had a lot of good first basemen.
I know with a bat, Fox, I guess, but I never knew how he was as a fielder.
Oh, all right. I never seen him make a bad play. Yeah, against us, he played great.
Of course, Greenberg was a great one. How about a second baseman?
Well, I guess the first second baseman I saw that I come out of was Lazari. Of course, that's when I was a kid and just coming up. And then they had Charlie Gehringer. He was great. You could go ahead, as long as I've been in the damn league, you could name 5 or 6 on a given day. But like I say, Charlie, they wound him up every year at 3:30 and glided around second base, make the plays, never said one word. He'd say, "Hi, Charlie, how are you?" "Okay." And it wasn't very conversational.
Really a nice man.
Beautiful. And like I say, they've had a lot of guys. Joe Gordon.
Yeah.
Oh, you can name him. And the guy at Boston. Doerr. Man, as far as second baseman's concerned, you had a lot of them.
Yeah. How about a third baseman?
Well, I saw Ossie Bluege play at the end. He played great. And then, like I say, there's a lot of third basemen, that hit better and feel better. You'd have to really... That's a hard position to throw anybody in.
Yeah.
I did see the guy for Pittsburgh play a little Traynor, in spring training. Oh, he was a good player.
No, it's exactly like Durocher says. You could pick 5 or 6 all-stars.
If you get the names down, you know, back in 1930, that's a long time to remember.
Sure is. All right, now, position you know well. How about a shortstop, aside from yourself?
Well, they had Cronin played good shortstop. Cassetti was a good shortstop. He wasn't a great hitter. They had Rizzuto was a shortstop. They had a guy from the Browns that hit pretty well. He wasn't faster, but they've had quite a few shortstops. Like I say, you could name, you know, in the American League, I'd have to go over there. That quite a few of them they could add his name to the list. Aparicio played good for the Sox.
When I look at shortstops and think about shortstops, I think the best shortstop I ever saw on a grass field, the all-Tebbetts suburb,
Marty?
Yeah.
Marty's an Atlanta boy. I knew him when he was a skinny little fella. I knew his brother better. We played in the Park League.
Oh, did you?
And Marty was a little. He's still in St. Louis now still up in the cafeteria. The lounge or whatever they call it. No, Marty was playing around. I played with Johnny, his older brother, in the Park League. And he played for Adair Park, and we played for Maddox Park. Rough town. I lived outside the city limits. Just outside there. I went up to Maddox Park, swimming pool. Then you didn't have a car, didn't have all this money. So.
Sure.
But Marty was a good shortstop. In fact, when he went to the Sox, did you know they give him my number? He wanted it.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, number 4.
Oh.
They'd retired it. Now they've retired. Somebody said they retired again. I said, that's second time. They ought to have a third to get 3 strikes out, but I didn't object to Marty. I thought it was an honor that he'd want number 4.
I just remember how I used to go watch the Phillies play in the Cardinals, and boy, he went.
He was long and rangy. Yeah. He was rangy. Shortstops, if you get a good shortstop, it's according to how intelligent he is, how he plays the hitters. Yeah. In the middle of that field, that's an important part. That you have to learn the hitters and play them according to the type of pitcher is pitching. You get the signs, and just like me, which they don't do anymore. I'm going to tell you something they don't do. You won't see it done. Just like a man on base, first base. You give the third baseman a word sign for curveball, a change of pace, or a fastball. You make it by yourself. And then you give a cover sign man at second, you give a sign, and then you give a glove sign to the outfield. Hell, they don't do that anymore. That's out of the question. The last time I remember hearing that guy give word signs, I was managing Richmond. I went to Syracuse, and Kazanski was playing shortstop for the Philly, organization. They had the ones and all. They had a good ball. And Lonnett was catching. I liked Joe. And in fact, I coached with him with Tanner in Chicago. And he was back to the plate. And I says, Joe, I call every pitch you make. He says, how, you can't do it? And I said, well, yes, I can. Because Kazanski was using the word sign to the third baseman. I was there, and it began to hit me in the ear, Just 2 things. 2's the curve. Well, he was covering up. He was doing this. The pitcher was Owens was I didn't miss a pitch because Kazanski was giving the third baseman the play. And Joe said, when we coached he says, where in the hell did you get them signs? I said, from the shortstop. He says, well, I'll be dang. But no, you pick up a lot of things like that. It's like a pitcher. I could pick up breaking pitches and different things, you know, just one thing another, just the way his action was. Like Tommy Bridges. He had one of the better curveballs in the league. You know, overhanded, really break the curving ball, and he had trouble. And just watching pitch with men on base, he'd come down, just as he'd come down the set position, he'd reach out here. And if you give it a little extra reach, that was a curveball. You do it, throw it every time. I mean, that's habit.
Yeah.
You pick up habits from guys. And I got to notice, and then we got Mule Haas and Simmons, and Mule was bad about talking. You don't mind giving signs. Says, how do you hit that curveball? Well, yeah, so, and Bridges said, you hit that curveball just like that. And I knew him well. I liked him. And I told Haas and them on a club, you know, which you usually do, I said, keep it to yourself. And then the next year, you know, he had a bad year. You know, and so I said to him, I says, hey, I want to tell you something. You pitching this series? No, I'm not going to pitch this series. I said, okay, I'll tell you. You know, when you go out with baseball, breaking ball, and, you know, little different things, something else that I was telling. It's a long time. He said, well, thanks. And look up the last day he's pitching. And the man's on first base. I said, hey, time. Hey, buddy, time. And he just laughed. He didn't cross me up every one time. He did everybody else on the damn house. But he didn't. That same guy was. And he thanked me. You know, love different things, just like it's otherwise. If you keep your eyes open, you can carry on a lot of foolishness, and people don't pay that much attention to you, and you're not serious. But you keep your eyes and ears open, and you learn a lot.
After being watching. Yeah. The other shortstop that I've never seen anything like is Smith with St. Louis.
Oh, I've seen it lately, yeah. He can feel, he's very agile, and he plays, if you notice, he plays hitters real well, too.
Yeah.
That different things, but they had a lot of, just like I say, in our league when it come along, they had, I might have missed some. It's been so damn many I've seen. You know, it'd be hard.
Even harder is outfielders. How about some outfielders?
Well, DiMaggio was a great one. Williams is a great hitter. Not the best fielder in the world, but Joe can do it all. His brother was a good fielder, young and fair hitter. And you had, God dang, man, he had a lot of right fielders that could play.
You saw Ruth play, right?
Yeah, I saw Ruth play. You know, I never will forget Ruth. First words he ever spoke to me, they, you know, that, as I say, the game's changed quite a bit. They told me when Ruth come to bat, play right back in the pitcher. And wave your hands at him in glove. And so he hit one off center field wall. And he got to second base. He said, hey, kid, come here. He said, all that shit you're just wearing yourself out. He said, it don't bother me none at all. He was quite a guy. He paid Ted Lyons a big check. He actually quit. He come out one Sunday and watched Ted pitch in the Yankees. He said, let me come out and watch these Yankees anybody. Just come out and watch your so-and-so pitch.
You know, when I do these interviews and talk to people and so forth, I get more and more fascinated with with Babe Ruth as a character. You know, because you get two pictures of him. One, people say, you know, he was this crazy, alcoholic, sex-crazed moron, you know, and the other picture is of this, you know, superhuman being almost.
Oh, he was a nice fella.
Yeah.
I mean, he eat hot dogs in between they do now and everything else at the end. And I imagine he had a few bruises of one thing and another. I tell you, if he ever got to the ball, he caught it.
Yeah, I know he did.
He caught it.
He had a great arm.
Yeah, he could throw. But like I say, his running was I guess his only fault that he had. Of course, you take them gloves, I broke them them little old gloves they had. I'd like to see you put them on some of these kids playing now. There's big webs out here this far and that thing. And like I say, the game's changed quite a bit. People on and equipment-wise and one thing and another. The only thing I don't like the shoes. They've never had a pair of shoes that ever equal Spalding featherweights with the spikes.
What were they? Were they a kangaroo? Or?
Yeah, they're kangaroo. They got cut easy, but I was fortunate when they went out of business. They called me up and told me, and they said they had about 9 or 10 pair of my shoes. See, they'd make a special lash for you in New York, and you could just take them and bend them together like this, you know, backwards, any way you wanted, 2 fingers. And they called me up and told me then, so I had 8 or 10, 12 pair, I don't know which. And then they were about $25 a pair. And like I used to tell the guy, Riddell and all them come in with them shoes for $10 and $12, ruin your feet and everything else. And these, I bought me a pair of leather insole. I mean, I had cut them and put in St. Louis, they had this honeycomb, you know, put for your heel and come up to the bottom. I never had any trouble with my feet in my life. And I'd put them on that honeycomb would sit there on that leather, and I just moved the leather in and out. Never played the same game in a pair of shoes, 2 games in the same pair of shoes at all. I'd practice in a pair, play a pair and a thing, and just slide my, in fact, I had 2 of them. And I kept them. They cut easy, but they were great shoes, just like you had nothing on your feet. I had an old vibrator that I got in metal. I still got it. I put my feet on it. I would hear more often from my knee. It vibrates you all over. You know, and I'd sit in there and I had between the double letters, you know, my feet on that thing and shake them and everything else. You know, they loosely did the job. And I left the socks, and they wouldn't let me have it, so I went up there, you know, and I was the only one who used it, though. I used it all the time. And Shark is a clubhouse boy, so I went up there, and it's not in the clubhouse. I said, where's that? It says in the storeroom. And I said, well, where in the hell is it? And so he finally went up there one fall, and he said, clean it out, and I found it. And I just put it in my car and drove it home. I still got it. Yeah, the wiring getting a little bad, but it still does the job.
Now, anybody that you played with that you think should be in the Hall of Fame that isn't?
Oh, don't give me, I can name you so damn many that'd be different. A lot of good players. I tell you, I'll say one thing about that. That's what's bad about it. You see, and like I say, the times change. You got guys in there not supposed to be there, and you got some that should be there. You couldn't elect them, and they could fill a page full of them every year. But the writers, you had the old writers, and then they are changing more than the damn ball players now. And that's the one thing, just like I say, when I went, I never resented anybody voting for or against me. Like I say, I was surprised that it happened, you know, when it did. I get a few votes. But the point is, they get new writers. They don't see these guys. All it goes is, it's just like I say, when I went in, I had 5 guys come up to me, and in the course of a couple of years said, I didn't vote for you. He says, but the point is that I looked at your record and says, hell, you should have been in there a long time ago. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the whole story with it all.
Yeah. I was a crime for a long time, the people who weren't there, you know, I mean, some people. And it's a crime, too, some of the ones that are there.
Well, just like I can name you 2 or 3 that didn't even play enough days. You know what, the bad ball play. But they don't have the time. I mean, they can do anything.
Yeah, one that's always bothered me is Koufax. He's a great pitcher for 5 years. Great pitcher. But, you know, for 5 years he was a joke. They couldn't use him. They couldn't bring him out of the bullpen. I'm not sure that 5 years is long enough to be...
That's right. Just like Grove. Grove stayed in the minor league for 5 or 6, 7 years, could throw just as good before he got control. Yeah. And you show me a pitcher that you talk about fast. He played against the Yankees fastball hitting club. They had a whole lot of fastball hitters in the league, and he won 28 games. Yeah. You think he wasn't? But man, I'm gonna tell you, he ran back, and you could tell when he'd go down somebody, he'd come sidearm. He'd go out of here when he wanted to hit you.
How about throwing it at people now?
Well, they used to be fair game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing said. Now that they've gotten to the point that, especially good hitters, you know, I've seen since I've been not playing, good hitters, anything else, you throw the ball inside, they might be on top of the plate, and you throw the ball inside that much off the plate, and the umpire warns the pitcher. I mean, but those things to do, that's, you know what that is? That's what happened to the 300 hitters. They don't throw it a hitter enough. If you throw it a hitter and you're a fair game and you know this guy will come inside and deck you, and I've never had any conflict with anybody throwing it batters, as long as he keeps the ball down from the letters down. And I still say a guy with any moxie makes him a better hitter. He's relaxed, and he knows this guy, and he uses his hand and bat and not lunging and jumping at the ball.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you just watch them out and lunge and jump at that ball, and because they know they ain't going to throw at it.
Well, you talk about Murphy. You know, Murphy is a good ball player, no doubt about it, but he can look as bad as any hitter I've ever seen.
Well, you know when he started looking bad, you ever notice it? For about the last 4 or 5 years, and he hit a lot of home runs. That's because he was changed to hit the ball to right field instead of pulling it. He hit a lot of balls to right field, right center, in different places. And center field, where he used to, when he first was playing, center field was, I've seen him hit balls in the minor leagues. See, that's the reason I was with him. Hit line drives right over the center field fence. And he wasn't a bad catcher till they got a guy, because of the way he was stepping, he wanted to switch his feet, you know, he wasn't using his feet. And then, God, the center field started pitching. He started hitting the pitcher. He started throwing balls everywhere, watching his daggone feet.
That's one of the funniest lines I've ever heard in baseball. Apparently when he was having that trouble, he called his father to come and straighten him out or something? No,
he just had to, you know, a lot of guys have, the catchers especially. You've seen quite a few guys that have a block.
Oh, yeah.
And that just happened to be his, and like I say, he's very conscientious.
Well, does his father really watch him and say, well, they'll never steal right center field off him?
I don't know. I like his family. He got a lovely mother and father.
Well, can I get a couple pictures of you?
Yeah. If you can stand it. Can I take off my glasses?
I don't know how the camera will do, but... Let's see if we got enough light here.
We'll turn the light on.
I've got to turn the camera.
You want to turn this? I don't know where this is. There's got a light here somewhere. You got enough light here? Turn that light on over there.
Let's see if that makes any difference. Whoa. The back's going to overbalance me. Yeah, it does make a difference.
Yeah, I thought it might make a little, maybe just enough. Break that camera, show you born.
I don't know. I hope not. It's a brand new one.
Just don't show my ears.
Don't show your ears.
You know, they're big enough.
Okay, that ought to do it.
No, this is great. I've enjoyed I enjoy being out here. You got to enjoy this game. If it's a job, hard work to you, you might as well go and get better hours.
Exactly right. No, I could tell you, when I saw you at the ballpark yesterday, I knew here's a man who's where he wants to be.
Well, I get right. I don't do it this. Like I say, anybody's looking for trouble can find trouble anywhere. Mm-hmm. I enjoy them. Like in baseball, I have my friends, and most of them that they are. But I mean, it's 3 counties right there together, and there's nothing in them. Up in the mountains, they don't want to be isolated.
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either.
This is Rod Roberts. The date is April 4th, April 10th, 1987, and we're interviewing Mr. Luke Appling in a motel in Greenville, South Carolina. This is tape 2. In 1934, you had on the club, you had Zeke Benoit.
Zeke boy. Zeke just passed away.
Yeah.
He was my roommate for the years he was a White Sox.
Oh, was he?
Most of the time. And in fact, my first introduction to Zeke was he signed in New Orleans the same year I signed with the Crackers in Atlanta. I never will forget him. He pinch hit and he hit a ball in deep short, and of course, not being any speed demon, because if he could have run it, he'd beat it out. And I backhanded it and threw him out at first base, and I never will forget the remark. He said, "You smart collegiate so-and-so." And he's just out of college with the Loyola. Well, I played football against him.
Oh, really?
He was down there, and he got knocked out. I said, "Now you should kid him." I said, "Hey, Zeke, you remember when you pulled your helmet off and I run over and kicked you in the head when I went over you?" And he said, "Ooh, cut that off." He was a great boy.
He's from New Orleans, huh?
Yeah. Never got married.
Never did?
No, he was the only time I think he ever got serious dating was with Ms. Comiskey's daughter, one that married John Rigney.
Oh.
He tried to go with her. I don't know what happened, but Zeke he was a fine boy, all in all.
Now, you really like Jimmy Dykes.
Oh, I love him.
Uh-huh.
I loved him. Like I say, that I played for Jimmy Dykes, and he told me what he wanted to do, and never give me a sign for 12 years.
Is that right?
He'd tell me what I did, and he'd just like he'd say, "Hey, I want you got to bat back of Manure and Taft right." Says we can't bunt them over, and you hit and run with them. Everybody in the ballpark, you always got to hit and run with them.
Uh-huh.
They say run and hit now. You know, they changed things, but still hit and run and hit, no different. And you couldn't bunt them over. And Zeke had trouble getting the signs. I mean, I used the same hit and run sign for 12 years. I never will forget Casey Stengel and the Yankees had everybody on the bench trying to get my hit and run. They finally come to the conclusion anytime I spit it to run at first base. And like I say, I used the bat as the hit and run.
Uh-huh.
I was always hitting the plate, different things, and talking, carrying on foolishness. And every once in a while I'd give them a sign which meant nothing, and they was looking. And anytime I didn't hit the plate with a bat, it was on. And if I hit it with one hand, it's on. Two with two hands. I used that all the time, 14 years, and nobody ever got it. Of course, you got 3 signs there, you know.
Yeah, sure.
That they, and I'd always talk to the catcher because, like, one day we got a new boy joined us and he's on first base, and I says, you know, anytime I rub this thing, I'm always rubbing it. They don't pay no attention that we were playing Boston, and Tebbetts was catching. And he said, what are you using for hit and run? I said, anytime I do that, and I told the kid anytime I do that, and I stepped out, it was still on. I said, just one time. And so he got ready. I said, let me get out of here. I don't want to hit and run. That's my hit and run side. And I stepped back in, didn't do anything else. And the guy run, and I got a base hit. I could still hear Tebbetts say, but you had to, I carried on a lot of foolishness, but I knew what was going on.
Sure.
You have to.
Yeah.
Just like one day in the Yankee Stadium, we were playing the Yankees, and the pitcher and the catcher used to sit down on the bench watching hitting bat practice. And I looked over one day, and Dickey's catching, and Shea is pitching. It was a slider ball pitcher. And I had good luck with him because I could hit the ball right field, and I'd go right between first and second with it. And I seen him talking, and he began to talk about me, and I'm hitting it. And the pitcher went in here, and Bill said, you know, and I said, well, they talking about me. I said, you throw that slider inside today, boy, me and you going to war. And the Yankee Stadium, the first time bat first pitch, a slider in here, and I had a short hop down the left field line and hit the wall, and bounced around, scored a couple of runs. The next time I come up, there's a couple of men on base, and the first pitch was a fastball. It was out off the plate. And then the next pitch, I was still laying for that thing. He'd come back in there, and I hit it about 20 rows up in that stand. You know what he said to me next day? He come out, he says, I never pitched you inside that slider in my life since I've been here. He says, you hit those things just like you knew they was coming. And he says, you did. How was that? I says, I've seen it coming up there inside. Which I said, I could have bet you never tell him the truth.
Yeah, right.
You have to keep your head. I think a hitter, his main thing is to watch the pitcher.
Yeah.
And no, good pitchers, I didn't mind hitting the good pitchers because that stuff is more consistent. And they hit the breaking ball is more usually consistent, and 95% of the time, and the fastball moves the same way, you know.
Yeah.
And if you watch a pitcher like, you'd be surprised how many characteristic things you pick up from him. You can see a lot of breaking pitches and curve. Guy says, how can you see that? I said, I'm looking at it. And they don't look at the pitcher.
Yeah, I know it.
You're just like a pitcher. Just like any time a pitcher, he says you can't follow his arm to feed you, you can do anything, and you can school yourself to the point you can see. And when that ball, you see that, just half that ball here, and his arm's here, it's breaking pitch. This is a whole ball. That's a fastball. And just like the underhanded pitcher, he comes out, he shows you the whole ball, and in breaking pitch, you see half ball. I mean, those things that you think guys pick them up, but they don't anymore.
It's the thing that bothers me about kids. I think maybe we've overcoached them. We do all the looking for them and all that. Kids don't watch anymore. They don't watch the game, right?
Well, I tell on the bench, and I say, just watch the pitcher. And they're just like Justin. He's got a broken arm, and he's sitting on the bench, and I says, just watch the pitches. When you're not playing, or when you're not hitting, or you're in the batter's box, I wouldn't take my eyes off the hitter. You know all I looked at when I was at the bat? In Kazanski Park, it says it's 360 feet down, 54 feet, even 53 feet, which it used to be. It's a bandbox now. They made it. And the wind blowing in off that lake, so that bat and tear run eyes, that cold off the... I just look at the infield. I shoot what they give me, a line, try to hit line drives in between. And guys don't have themselves. You can go out there and tell them. I told a guy last night, and I was with him last year, how he uses his hand in approach to the ball. In here, and he can't get out in front. He hit a home run last night. Screeching line drives center field, and they got afraid of him. They walked him down there. And he's not that type of hitter.
Uh-huh.
But he'll forget it today.
Yeah.
And he's a catcher.
Yeah.
Kids, it doesn't sink in. You know, when I first broke in, it stuck in my mind. My first manager in the Atlanta Crackers, he says, I want to tell you something, son. He says, when I tell you something one time, I expect you to remember it. He said, if I have to tell you the second time, I begin to think you're stupid. He says, if I have to tell you the third time, I know damn well you're stupid. And that stuck in my mind from then on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, Simmons. I can't believe it. I know the problems Connie Mack had. I came from Philadelphia, and when I was a kid, I loved old newspapers. I used to go read the old newspapers, and I've seen those headlines in the Philadelphia Record. Ho hum, A's win again. And nobody in the ballpark. A great ball club and nobody there. So I know why he had to do it.
That's why.
But what did Chicago have to give up to get Miller and Haas and Earnshaw and Simmons? Money? Boy.
See, I must have been hurting for money. We didn't trade nobody. We didn't have anybody to trade. I remember. But the point is that it's a shame that they don't draw people when you have a great ball player club like that.
I don't think that could happen today. I don't know.
No way. No way.
But it happened to Matt twice. He put two great ball teams together, and both times couldn't afford to keep them.
Well, if people don't attendance. Of course, now then you got television, radio, it helps you out.
Yes,
you know what you didn't have then. Yeah. With my poor knee got stiff.
Oh, well.
But you got a lot of income coming in otherwise that you didn't before.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of difference. You can't pay them, you can't have them. And then you don't have any money to invest. You're lucky as heck to come up with it. And nowadays, I think the only players are the way that you have to do, you don't have to raise them.
Yeah.
I was this past year, we signed a lot of high school kids. And I just hope they do it this year, too. Good ones, kids who want to play. And then you get them before they get in a lot of bad habits. And you can teach them a little more, I think. And if they're interested in playing and willing to work, which most of them are. I've never seen but one, maybe two in my whole life. I told a couple of guys they're like that and didn't want to work. I said, why don't you quit and go get your job? Mm-hmm. Best thing you can say to them.
What kind of fellow was Simmons?
The Duke was a nice person, and he was a little headstrong. In fact, his boy lives in Forsyth County, right up above me somewhere. He works in Gainesville, I understand. I've never met him, since he's been there, because I'm off in the summer and everybody hibernates in the winter,
Yeah.
And so he's all right.
Now, Simmons was a Polish fellow, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He, I never will forget him. When I went to Philadelphia, they have those two hucksters, one in right field, one in left field. You remember them?
Oh, yes, I remember.
And it's just this. You'd get on Simmons says, marry me, Mabel, I'll walk the dog, and things like that. They were always on there. Of course, they got on the big guys then.
Yeah.
Little guys. And then they got on me one year, and I had a shortstop and the guy at third base, and I'd put my glove up and I'd say, get back there, come on there, young boy. And they said, what'd you say? And I'd give it back to never say anything. And they'd say, nuts. That's the way you treat those people.
I'd forgotten about those guys, yeah.
You remember them now?
Oh, they had great voices, I'll tell you.
I think Mr. Beck let them come in free of charge. They had a seat for them in right field and get on other people. I thought they were very comical.
Yeah, they were funny. Yeah. In 1934, you had Frenchie Bordigaray on the ball club.
Yeah, center field.
Yeah.
We trade him. Where did he go? Brooklyn.
Yeah, I think he did from there. Yeah.
We had a lot of good boys, but like I say, we had Jackie Hayes, who he lost his eye. That was bad.
How did he lose his eye?
Well, I think from what I said, see, I roomed with Jackie a lot when he was there. I think his father was a doctor, and he had a little sinus disturbance, and I noticed one time he'd start sweating, he'd have salt stains under his eyes, and he'd come in at night and maybe have a few beers after eating it, and he'd irrigate his nose with a dew syringe, swear up one nose and one the other, and I just think he paralyzed the nerves in his eyes himself. Wow. I got A for a couple of years in Pasadena in spring training. I guess maybe he didn't do it in the wintertime, And he says, "Hey, I can't see. I got one of my eyes are blurred." I said, "What's the matter?" And he says, "I just got a thing." And then it was right at the end of spring training, and we went to Phoenix, and they shipped him in Chicago, and he lost sight of his eye. In fact, when he lost the other, Alice, his wife, lovely person, he didn't get married for about 10 years after he played ball. And he come to Emory University in Atlanta, and I talked to him when he was up there. He lost his other sight.
Oh, my.
Both sides.
Yeah.
He and Ted Lyne were good friends, too.
It's terrible.
You know what surprised me? Moose Salters went blind. He was a big outfielder, played with 2 or 3 clubs, and ended up with us there. He went blind, too. I kid him. I said, "That's looking at that hard wind coming off the lake there in the spring and the fall."
Yeah. That might do it, I guess. You had a Jocko Conlon, was it?
Jocko?
Yeah.
Jocko's quite a boy. Yeah. I like him. I love him. He, in fact, when he first started umpiring, he played center field, but he wasn't playing. And we were playing in St. Louis in a tie ball game, and I hit a triple, and I slid into third base, and Dykes was coaching, a managing coach there, and he was giving Jocko the devil. I didn't say nothing to him, and I told Jocko, I called it just right, but I think I beat the play. I was just had good motion, and then he turned me into an umpire, and a sassy little one too.
Yeah.
But he was a center fielder for us. Lived in Chicago.
Muddy Rule.
Muddy, dadgummit. That was his favorite expression. Never used curse words or anything else. Dadgummit, and that was it. And he was a hard worker. I enjoyed him. He got married when he was in his late life too.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. He was a fine gentleman.
Yeah. Now you got a pitcher on that club, Monty Stratton.
Monty?
Yeah.
Well, Monty came up in a long, lanky, gangly guy, and he was coming right along. Thought he was sort of an underhanded sidearm pitcher and a great guy. A lot of fun. Just laughing all the time. He and Ted Lyons become good friends. Now being a pitcher, but and we called him Gander. On account of his long hair, different things. And we were in El Paso, Texas. We used to ride that slow train through Iowa and, different places. Pull on the side, let the other trains go by. And that trip back into Chicago, and we were in El Paso, and he and myself and Mike Krevich bought a 22 standard pistol, you know, with a long barrel.
Yeah.
And we were going to stand on the back end of the train and shoot them pheasants on the side of the road. Never did hit one. And Monty made him a scabbard for that thing, and he lived in Texas, and he'd go down there, and he liked to get out and shoot those jackrabbits. And so he had his rifle along, and he'd shoot at them with a pistol till it got away from him, and then he'd put the pistol in a scabbard, and then he'd shoot the rifle. Well, in some way or another, he pushed that thing down. He must not got his finger off the trigger, and he shot himself right here, and it run down his leg, and it went right down the artery for about 6 inches.
Ooh.
Well, out there in that Texas town, they carried him over to the doctor. He got out on the road. He couldn't walk. It filled up with blood. And I guess doctors, just like ball players, they improved with age, you know. And so they carried Monty up to the doctor, and he made an incision in the back of his leg. And then I understand they just stuffed it full of cotton, and he had to ride 28 miles or something over to the hospital. And I understand he was unconscious when he like to died from losing blood. You know, they had to stop it up. And then he never lost his disposition after He come back and tried to pitch. You know, he could still throw, and he'd give it that long legs or that artificial leg. He'd hop around. You know, he was a great boy. It's a shame that something like that should happen to him.
Terrible thing.
Of course, when they made that picture of him out in Hollywood, that gave him he got enough out of there to buy him a farm or something, a big farm.
Yeah. I don't remember Stratton. I remember a guy Connie Mack had named Lou Brissy. After,
Yeah.
I know, he had a leg
South
all,
Carolina boy, or North Carolina, somewhere up there.
he had a leg all torn to pieces in the war and everything. Yeah.
He wasn't also.
Oh no.
I know I feel just about like he does with my knee now.
Let's see. Well, Bill Guilfoyle always gets me to ask 2 questions. One of them is, what was your greatest day in baseball?
My greatest day in baseball. My greatest day in baseball was the year they elected me to the Hall of Fame. I didn't even think about it. I knew I got mentioned, and it was quite a surprise, you know, to bounce up there right at the end. I mean, that was we couldn't win any pennants. I won a couple of batting titles, and in the year I hit 388, I didn't even think about it till right at the end of the season. I said, hey, Radcliffe was hitting up there, and I'm just batting back, and I look up one day, and he's going back underneath me, and I'm up to 350. I said, boy, you better bear down. You might not get up here again.
A lot of guys say that it was the day they found out they were in the Hall of Fame. I like Red Ruffing's answer the best. He said his greatest day in baseball was the day he found out he could get paid for playing.
No, I tell you, Red played for us, you know.
Yeah.
In fact, he was playing for us when he got his kneecap busted. And you know who busted? The guy that played for the White Sox that owned him. George Vernon Washington, a line drive back, good left-hand. I don't know why he never made it in the major league. He led every league he played in from A, AA, AAA, and he got up there and they wore his fist out, and he said, I never the expression he had. He says, I'd rather be a big fish in a little pond than a little fish in a big pond. And I said, yeah, but you don't make the money. You don't get fed as well.
Right. His name was George Vernon Washington?
Yeah. Left-handed hitter, slung every bat. In fact, they put screens up in on the left hand on the first base side of every parking league protect. He hit people with them bats slinging it. The next hitter was there, they get way back away.
I don't remember him.
He didn't stay that long, but he was a fine boy.
All right, the other question, Bill, that getting me to ask the last couple of years is, what was the greatest fielding play you ever saw?
Well, I don't know. I've seen a lot of them. I mean, even just on what on my part of the field. But the day that a fella pitched a no-hitter, they had a guy playing center field, or what was his name, left-handed, in Radcliffe. I was on first base. I walked in the ninth inning and get beaten 1-0. You know, you trying like hell to win the ball game, and he hits the ball to sort of right center line drive, and Sammy West, I think it was West, playing center field. Anyhow, it was a left-handed guy, and he dove and caught that line drive just above the ground. If you'd have missed it, then Comiskey Park, the center field's open. It'd have ricocheted around that field. I know I could have scored easy, because if he hit the ground, the right fielder had to shag it in center field. So you know how that'd be, and he could have lost the ball game. Yeah. And saved his no-hitter and everything else.
Yeah. Speedy West, you think it was?
Sammy West.
Sammy West.
I think he was playing center field. I'm almost sure. It was, of course, that's been a long time ago.
Yeah. Hard to remember.
I didn't remember all these things. That's because I love the game.
Oh, yeah. I just looked and tried to see who that fielder was, and I came across a name that just leaped out at me, George Case. You remember George?
Yeah, I know George. Yeah, with Washington.
Yeah.
Run, sprinter.
I was going to ask you, like, who was the fastest man you ever saw, the best base runner?
Well, that'd be hard to say. We had a little guy on our ball club who could steal second base, and we didn't have a chance to run. We'd never win the ball game. This Mike Creevy could steal the base for you. That's different guys that get a good jump, and it don't have to be quickness.
Yeah.
You know, the first 2 or 3 steps you make is a success. Of course, the guys could run. George could have stole a lot of bases, and he played for Washington.
Right.
You know, the guy I really like to see was Ossie Bluege.
Yeah.
Say, you remember him, or do you?
Oh, yeah, I remember Ossie Bluege, Yep. You said Grove was the fastest pitcher you ever saw. He the pitcher who gave you the most trouble?
Not necessarily. I hit him right over first base, right-handed hit. I was lucky. I didn't get the base hit.
Good wrist, huh?
No, he fired the ball. I'll tell you a story about that. We were playing in Philadelphia. Now, you've been in the old ballpark.
Oh, yeah, Connie Mack Station.
Now, you know how dark it gets when it's cloudy? Nothing to block out them clouds in center field, you know.
Right.
Sort of slopes down that well there. And Grove is pitching against us. And he is, as I said, he's firing the ball. Now, we're getting beat 2-1 in about the 6th, 7th inning. And I looked up and got a couple of hits. I think we had 3 or 4 hits off of it. And Fonseca's manager, and he could hit Grove pretty good. He get the right-handed hitter, and he hit him pretty good. So he's sitting on the bench, and then, like I say, we had a shallow bench, and then he always hit him pretty good. So he walked up to the plate. He pinched hit. Man on base, I think, second base somewhere. And he had a little twist with the bat, and Grove come down the pitch, and he threw the ball, and he went, strike one. He didn't even get this bad day. And then the next time, he come right down, he come right at you, you know. He went, He got right here, and it's strike two. And the next pitch he started swinging before he released the ball, it looked like. I laid down on the bench correspondence thinking myself didn't get along. He told me at the first base in Pasadena that he wouldn't have me on his ball club. And he says I could get rid of you, could trade you and everything else. The ball alone, you're going to play 154 games, you're able to walk out there and you'll hit 154 and feel 154. And you know what I said to him? I said, yeah, you know, you can kiss mine too. But he said, first, can you imagine that? The last day in spring training, calling me at first base, and I'm working like heck and give you that category. Then when I won the batting championship in '36, I told him, I said, I bet it just grabs your soul to have to come back here and take my picture.
You didn't get along too well with what...
Well, I got along with him, but you know, he treated, and when he treats you like that, you know, last day of spring training,
yeah,
you know, you're working like hell and just a kid too. What other questions you want?
I got one more thing to ask of you. Now,
I hope you enjoyed that interview. He talked about everything under the sun, as I told you he would. And I'm sure if you listen to it all, you really got that feeling that he was a Southern guy. So, and if you want to check out his biography and events throughout his career, go to thisdayinbaseball.com/Luke Appling, and you can find just there's a really great written biography there by Bob Cohn, and I hope you would enjoy that. And then we have a bunch of his career highlights, and you can click through and read those events. And again, as I mentioned already, this came from the Hall of Fame digital collection. You should check that out and look at the show notes for a link. And you can sponsor a page or two for the Hall of Fame. Like I said, they could probably use it at this time, considering they have no people coming through right now, and it's just a tough time for a lot of businesses. If you can, of course. This is a tough time for lots and lots of people, as the unemployment numbers are very scary right now. As far as This Day in Baseball goes, you can sign up for our updates on every page. You can put your email in there. You can talk baseball with fans just like you in our forums. And again, I want to thank you for joining me today. My name's Tom Hannon. This is the Daily Rewind. And if you enjoyed the show, share it with a friend. I'm sure anybody who is working from home right now or out of work, they're looking for baseball to fill in some of that void. And interviews like this hopefully would help them out a little bit through this time. And secondly, again, I really appreciate anyone who subscribes to the show and gives me any feedback at all. You can reach me directly at tdinbb@gmail.com. I'm Tom Hannon. Thank you for joining me today on the Daily Rewind, and we'll be seeing you at the ballpark maybe at some point this year. Peace.